Radical.
There was something left undone, some loose ends I want to tie up. Because here's the thing. I believe that anyone on YouTube or, Twitter, as the case may be, anyone should feel free to give their own thoughts about things, about people, without being called an extremist. But she did call me an extremist and a lunatic for giving my thoughts on a YouTube upload that she uploaded to YouTube that I'm guessing she wanted thoughts on. She made the choice to upload that talking about OnlyFans and how she feels about OnlyFans, how she would never do it, but we'll get into that in a moment. Well, I say a moment, but this might be kind of long. First off, we're going to start off by looking at and criticizing her tweets, if I'm allowed to do that without being called a lunatic and extremist. Of course, she tweeted, "Not related to my other tweets today, but extremist YouTuber Radical Rick has uploaded a video about me. Now, I always knew he was a lunatic with warped views, re-Patreon, but I never once knew how sexist he is. Take a look here." Now, what's interesting about this tweet is, she said she always knew that I was a lunatic. That would infer that she had some prior history on the channel, which is kind of odd because, correct me if I'm wrong here, but has Lady Decade ever been on my channel in the comment section? That leads me to believe that this was actually typed by her husband. Is that a fair assessment? Right? So there I've just kind of exposed that this wasn't even really her tweet. It was either her husband or a joint tweet, right? It just seems like that's kind of weird that she would call me an extremist and a lunatic without any prior history with me and conversing with me. This being said, Top Hat Gaming Man, her hubby, came by the comment section for a little while. We had, I thought to be like some, civil conversations in the comment section. Not everyone was civil with him, but I was civil. The opposite of what I would call a lunatic. Then she says, "As per usual, he is spreading misinformation by saying I have a problem with sex workers when I never said once such a thing." Well, here's the thing, Lady Decade. I never said that. You specifically said you have a problem with sex workers. But we'll actually get to the first minute of my part 2 in a minute, and we'll see if you're right here, by saying that I said that you had a problem with sex workers. Typical lazy Rick content, laugh out loud, stay radical. Well, I think I can make an argument here that that's kind of lazy to, spread the misinformation that I said you have a problem with sex workers. You didn't actually quote me. There's no quotes there. And the last tweet here, this is a whopper. "He makes a safe haven on YouTube for toxic idiots who all bask in their joint envy and vitriol, getting more and more bitter at anyone who does well and earns money from ad revenue and receives support from patrons." Can you point me, Lady Decade, to the upload where I get angry and bitter at Scott the Woz, who is very successful on YouTube, and he is a YouTube partner? Can you point to that? I mean, I'll actually give you some props here. If you can point to an upload to where I'm angry and bitter at a YouTube partner, like Scott the Woz being successful on the platform. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? I don't think you did your research. Maybe you need an education there. All right? There's a clear distinction between being a YouTube partner and making money, in my eyes, in my view and the views of many other people, the correct way by being a YouTube partner with YouTube ad revenue. Getting support from your audience, getting donations from your audience. Not everyone feels the same way I and many other people do, but many people feel that it is e-begging. So it's fair to call you, Top Hat Gaming Man, and anyone that uses Patreon for their retro gaming channels to get donations, it's very fair to call them e-beggars. Otherwise, then what's the definition for e-beggar? Right? If it's not taking donations from your own audience online, what exactly is e-begging? What is it? Now there's different levels of it, and that's one thing we discuss on the channel, but I'm just curious, is even having the discussion on things like e-begging, does that make everyone an extremist? Is that where we're at now? We're just discussing things like e-begging and donations like you're an extremist. How far are we away from, just 5-10 years ago on YouTube when, if you had a system where you're getting donations, you were the extremist? Does anyone remember this? Does anyone recall this? Okay. Am I the only one that remembers this, right? But I guess anyone who criticizes debanking right now is an extremist, So here's what we're going to do here. We're going to go to the first minute of part 2, my extremist upload, and we're going to listen to what exactly I say. There's one hypocrisy here, and it's that she seems very angry. She seems very angry that people would come by and ask her about OnlyFans, and equates that to being a worker of the night. Yet she talks about how there's people that do that for lots of money and she has nothing against them, or some along those lines. You can't hold those two positions. You can't. It's fairly obvious how she feels about people that are full-time OnlyFans people or strippers. It's fairly obvious how she feels. So if people come by her uploads talking about how they have been a stripper for years, making a lot of money supporting their families, or have an OnlyFans, or something like that, then I wonder how she could kind of like thread that needle, right? It's like, I'm offended. Don't you dare ask me about OnlyFans because I wouldn't do that. Oh, I'm cool with those people though. Those women, hey, more power to them. Huh? What? Alright, so here's the thing, Lady Decade. When I pull this off successfully, when I prove that you're actually a liar and a hypocrite, here's what you don't need to do. You don't need to have a tweet saying that I'm angry, hateful, and I hate women, and all that, blah, blah, blah. Because I know that's the next card you're going to pull out. You're going to pull out the female card. I'm waiting for it. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It doesn't matter. It's all about equality in 2021. Genders don't exist in 2021. It's all about equality. So, if you upload something to YouTube, guess what? YouTube critics, at times like myself, can actually criticize those uploads. I know that's a crazy, lunatic concept, isn't it? Let's break into this tweet. Also, per usual, he is spreading misinformation by saying I have a problem with sex workers when I have never once said such a thing. That's kind of funny. If you listen to that, I never said specifically that you have a problem with sex workers. That's a statement that you made. I never said that. So, talking about typical lazy Rick content, hey, typical lazy Lady Decade tweets. Here's what you did say, though. And I don't think you specifically have a problem with the fact that women are making money on OnlyFans. I don't think you have a problem with that because, I mean, you're making money on Patreon, so I don't think you have a problem with women making money on OnlyFans or, sex workers, prostitutes, or whatever it would be. Now, I didn't make that link. I didn't make that escalation. The core of this comes from a joke that you made that is probably going to insult a lot of people that have used OnlyFans. And that was equating, people coming to your YouTube channel asking you if you're going to start an OnlyFans up to someone in the street approaching you and saying that you're a good-looking lady, and how about you consider prostitution? Whoa, that's an escalation, wouldn't you say? Well, do you have a self-awareness? Do you have a self-awareness to understand that you make a statement like that, equating OnlyFans to prostitution? Then it's fair for other people to actually, see that and speak on that and prove to you that that's kind of I would say, an extremist statement. That's where I want to finish up on. Actually, Lady Decade is an extremist, because she has actually equated anyone that's ever used OnlyFans as a sex worker, a prostitute. Giving BJs behind a store for cash. You made that distinction. You made that escalation. You made that extremist statement. Plot twist, huh?